This is a tutorial for Affinity Photo, and we are going to be learning about how to use some of the selection tools in Affinity Photo, such as the marquee tool and also the polygonal lasso tool and the traditional lasso tool or the freeform lasso tool. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new document, and I've already opened up Affinity Photo, and here's where I can put in my document size, and I have 11 inches wide and 8.5 inches high, and also my resolution, my DPI is 300. So I'm all set, and I'm going to hit create down the bottom here. And actually, you just saw this is a little preview of what we're going to be doing here. This is the end product here. I'm going to show you how to do something, create a shape that's similar to this using some of these selection tools we were just talking about. So here's our file. So this is specifically for the Japanese Notan project, which Notan means light and dark balance. It's a Japanese concept. And we've got the marquee tool, which I just selected over here on the left-hand side. And I'm going to drag out a box, and I don't want the box to be too big. You don't want it to be, filling up the whole size. You want it to be about that big. So it kind of sits in the middle. And the reason we want it to be only that size is because we're going to be making a fill here, and we're going to be selecting things and then flipping them horizontally and vertically. We just don't want them going off the page. So that's why we want it to be that size. So once I have my selection, I'm going to go over to my flood fill or my paint bucket tool. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to fill it. And notice I filled it, but nothing showed up. So I have to go over to my color, which is over on the right-hand side, right here. And right now I've got white selected. I just want to use the double arrow there to flip that. Now I have black selected. So this project, we're only using black and white. So to deselect this, right now I still have this selected. I'm going to just click once. I'm going to left click, and now it deselects. So all of the tools we're going to be using for this particular project are actually just right here. So you'll notice that this tool has a little triangle at the bottom of it. If I click and hold, it's got other tools here. And you could use the rectangular marquee tool to select shapes. Like you could do, shapes like this or larger shapes, but they're not that interesting. They'd all be the same kind of shape. So I am going to suggest that we use the freehand tool, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit here by doing Control+ on the keyboard. So with the freehand tool, you can make shapes that are more free flowing, like that. And then I just released, and then I got this shape. I'll try that one more time. I'm just going to make like a flame shape. Maybe I'll do something like this. There we go. So the first shape that you make for this project, you want it to be fairly large. You want to go right off the page as well. What you don't want to do is this. You don't want to make a shape that is kind of floating inside here. You want to go right to the edge. So do it one more time. It's a large shape. We're using up a lot of that space on the side. So that's going to be important in just a second. So this is the freeform tool. The next step in this project, once I have a shape selected, I'm going to cut it. So I'm going to do Control X, or I can do this here. I can go up to Edit Cut, but I like to use the key. Oh, geez, there we go. I just deselected by accident, but if you hit Control Z, you can get back your selection. So that's nice. I like to use the key commands because it's faster. So Control X to cut. There we go. Cuts a little shape out. And if we go to our layers, which is over on the right-hand side here, it says LYR. you'll notice that it has a little preview here. And if I hit Control V for paste, it pastes it right back in. And it looks like it didn't do anything. Looks like I still have my black square here, but I do have my shape that's been pasted right in where I got it from. So if I go to my move tool here, you'll notice that there's a blue boundary box here. And if I click between these two layers now, so this layer is my original box, and this layer is the shape that I just pasted in. So if I turn this first layer off, that one on the bottom here, see this checkbox here? I'm going to uncheck that, and now it shows my shape that I pasted in. So I'm going to make sure that I have my flame shape selected, my layer, and then I'm going to go up to Arrange. Oops. There we go, Arrange, and I'm going to do flip horizontal. Okay, so now I have to move it over, and I'm moving it over I'm kind of eyeballing it. The better way to do it, like Control Z, better way to do it is actually to hold down Shift and then use your arrow keys to move it to the right. And you want it to be lined up right on that central axis there. You can kind of see there's a blue line on the left-hand side. And if I hit Control Plus, I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to use the hand tool to kind of move around. You want to you don't want there to be a gap here on the top. You want it to be basically flush. So that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Yeah. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to Control minus to go back out. So what you eventually want to have is this entire original shape here. You want other shapes to be cut out of it and flipped either horizontally or vertically. So if I was going to continue this, I'm just going to do this kind of fast. I don't like that. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to try to make as much use of this negative space as I can. Okay, so now I'm just going to make sure that I have the layer selected. Control X. That cuts it out. Control V. Go to Arrange. And now instead of flip horizontal, I'm doing flip vertical. And I go back to my move tool, hold down Shift, and now I'm pressing up. And there we go. And it's not quite there. It's pretty close. If I hit Control Plus, I can zoom in. And yeah, I'm way off. Okay, I need to go up a little bit more. There we go. That's pretty good. Okay, Control minus. Okay, so notice I did not use the corner here. I didn't really go into the corner at all, and that's because you need to have sort of a hinge. It's like a door opening. So if I went into the corner, I'll give you an example of what not to do. This is what you don't want to do. Something like this, because you don't want to be going into two different sides, because there's really no way to flip that correctly. So you either want to be on one side or the other. You don't want to be going into two different sides of the square. Okay. So I will do a little bit more here. Oops, I went right over that. Didn't want to do that. And go in here. Like that. Control X. Oops, I didn't select the layer. There we go. So make sure you have the layer selected. Control X. Deselect. Control V. Go to Arrange. Flip horizontal this time. Go back to my move tool, hold down Shift, and then use your arrow keys to move it over. Okay, so this is getting there. I would suggest that You do start with big shapes first. I could probably make, probably 2 more shapes, I think, that would fill this thing up. Don't go into the corners. And once you have all of these shapes completed, the big ones, then you can go back in to your original ones. Just make sure you have the right layer selected. I'm going to hit Control+ to go in a little bit further here. Doesn't look so good when you zoom in. Okay, I'm going to work with this one in particular. You would want to then make some more selections, and they don't have to, sort of be mirror images here. I can do different kinds of things here. And you just release when you want your selection to be completed. I'm going to hit Control X, gets rid of it. Deselect by double clicking, Control V, and then arrange. Oops, arrange, flip, horizontal. There we go. Go back to our move tool, bring that over, back out just so you can see everything here. That's not quite right. There it is. And I'm going to zoom out, Control-. Okay. So this shape on the right-hand side got a little bit more complicated, complex. So you would continue to do that until you don't have a long stretch of information right here. You really don't want to have more than like a 1/4 inch of uninterrupted line. And while we're on that subject, I think I could probably get a little something cut out of this shape right here, this area right here. So go back to my main shape. If I want to really be particular, I can cut that out, Control X. So that kind of hides that original shape a little bit. So then I can go back to my move tool, Control V, arrange, flip vertical, and then hold down Shift, move that up and line it up. So that is using the lasso freeform tool. This example here that I did is, I did not use the lasso freeform tool. I used the lasso polygonal tool. So I really do like this a little bit more than the freeform tool. You could certainly use either one, it's your choice. But I like this because it gives sharper lines and edges. So the way that you get to that tool, you go down to the freehand selection tool, and then on the top left, you've got these choices here. You've got freehand, polygonal, and magnetic. So I would suggest either using freehand or polygonal. And I'll just give you a really quick example of how to use this tool. I'll go up here. I'm just clicking. You're clicking and dragging. So it's a little different than the freeform tool. So making a big shape. It's a lot easier if you leave a big open space here for your shapes, for your initial shapes. Control X, so same kind of deal as the original one. I'm double clicking to get rid of the selection. Control V, paste it back in. And you can see the outline a little bit better with the polygonal tool than the freeform tool, I think. Arrange, flip, vertical. Go to the move tool, Shift, moves that up. And I'm wondering if we're going to be going off the page here. We might. Yep, we went off the page. Okay, that's potentially going to happen. So in order to combat that, we are going to go to Document and Resize Canvas. And we're going to say, instead of 8 for the height, we're going to go with 10. And resize. Okay, so now we have a much bigger canvas. Now, to move everything around, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the bottom layer here, and actually that had a lock on it. Just incidentally, if you want to lock your layers, you can right click and then you can go to lock. Click on lock. I don't want anything locked right now because I'm going to move everything around. So I click on the first bottommost layer there, hold down Shift, everything's selected, and now I can move everything at once. All right. So now I'm going to do one more selection here. Go back to my polygonal lasso, and I'm going to Control plus a couple times. And I'm going to, yeah, once again, I don't have to follow the same kind of pattern here. I can kind of do a different kind of shape in here. If you do follow the same outline, you can get a few more things cut out of it. It's just a little bit easier to do that, but Control X, double click to get rid of that selection, Control V, range, flip, or I want to do flip vertical. Go back to the move tool, Shift. That did not work. Okay, what happened there? Okay, I think I just, I made something else there. I didn't want to do that. So I have a little selection there. So anytime you have a little something like this, I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a little sort of marching ants kind of thing happening over here. By mistake, I had selected something. So just to deselect it, you can drag a box over it, double and click, or just double click and I'll get rid of it. So I go back to my shape here, hold down Shift, move it down, and it should line up pretty nicely. Just a little bit off. Okay, so you can see this is going to start to come together pretty well. The shapes that you make can be abstract like this, or they can be representational. It can look like something. It could be a symbol of something. A lot of times these shapes, because they're roughly symmetrical, they tend to look like things like masks or animals or birds or things like that. But this one almost looks like like some kind of a insect, like some kind of a cockroach or something from the side. But that's pretty much it. Hope this tutorial was helpful for you, and good luck.